Um, Welcome to the Intelligent Gentleman Show. I am your host, Mill Walker, and today we're going to be talking about higher self-love. So last time in the spiritual relationships series, we were talking about boundaries, right? We were talking about boundaries and what those mean for you and possibly your partner, the person who you're with, right? And it's very interesting to note that when you reach a certain point in spiritual development, you understand that all things are connected. You understand that you are connected to everything and everyone on a very, very base level, right? And what does that look like? What is a base level? What base level are we talking about? We're talking about life, right? We're talking about just the energy that permeates the universe, that is allowing everything to be in existence, right? That's what we're talking about. And on a very basic level, just like everything in existence, including yourself, everything is vibrating. Everything is in a state of vibration, frequency, right? Waves, wavelengths, and all that good stuff. And if you want to learn more about that, I encourage you to go out there and just study and look into some of this stuff. But on a very basic level, inanimate and animate objects are in a state of vibration. So in other words, nothing is just standing still. That is an illusion. And it's because of the way that we interpret that in the physical form is very finite. It's very finite, meaning there's a limit to how much we can see, when it comes to the spectrum of light, when we're viewing things with our physical eyes. There's a limit on how much we can hear. There's spectrums of sounds, which are vibrations as well. Everything is the vibration. So those vibrations, some of those vibrations our ears don't pick up, right? And when you think about that for a second, right? Because we're talking about yourself in a relationship with somebody else. When you think about that and you understand that everything is in vibration and everything has its own unique signature, right? But it all has a source, okay? So that source is how we are connected fundamentally, because everything originated from that source. Everything that has a beginning and an end originated from that source, right? And now let's break that down, because now that we understand that part of us is finite and it will never be able to reach the limitlessness of our higher self, then we understand that is the part of us that looks for companionship, so on and so forth, because you feel a void because you're not thinking about it from the spiritual sense, right? Because in the spiritual sense, there is no lack, there is no void, because it's still connected to that source of abundance, love, everything pure, light. It's connected to that. So it lacks for nothing. So there's a problem, because a lot of times we like to I like to say romanticize, because historically speaking, that's really like, kind of where it came from. romanticizing. They kind of changed the look of what everything looked like through some of their philosophies. But that being said, we romanticize these things, and we add qualities to finite things that don't have infinite qualities. We add infinite qualities to finite things when they don't have infinite qualities, right? Like looks, for instance. That's a very straightforward concept. You're not going to look the same forever. And I'm not even talking about when you get old. I mean, just from the time you're born to the time you reach 40, you're going to change so much over that course of time. Now, some features about you may still be the same, but some things may not. And so just in that instance by itself, what does that say? It says that when you try to be with someone based on some things that are going to change, that are just inevitable to change, then you're automatically setting yourself up for expectation, which is automatically setting yourself up for that expectation not being met, right? So, and you're also, and going back to the boundaries podcast, you're also putting an unrealistic expectation on that person. When people say, well, I left because the person wasn't doing this and they wouldn't take whatever the case may be, right? That is irrelevant. It's not, because if you love the person, you don't love them for what they look like. The love is supposed to be universal, right? Now, with that being said, your boundaries set the things that you are actually willing to compromise on, what you're not willing to compromise on. And that's okay, because everybody has a preference. Everybody has something that they like, or whatever the case may be. And that's fine. But going into it, you need to understand that those things change. So being that it's a preference, and this is what helps you, and this is what this particular podcast is about. When you start to look at life as evolving, and yourself as evolving into your higher self, the highest self that you can be, it's never going to be a backwards motion, right? So you're never going to be where you're not taking care of yourself, because you're always taking care of yourself. And again, higher self-love. When you start to get to that point where you truly understand and believe that you have an eternal component part of you that is constantly evolving and raising your frequency, then it raises the vibration of everything around you, including your physical body. That's why sometimes when you're in a bad mood all the time, it's easy for you to get sick. And when you're in a good mood all the time, you're less likely to get sick, because your body responds differently to that energy. It's just our physical makeup. That's the way that the physical reality intertwines and plays with the energy fields, right? Good evening, Ebony. Welcome to the podcast. Thank you for supporting and joining. She says, so very true, age included, though. We are ever changing. It's constant. That's right. Everything. So the only thing that's not changing, and that's what this particular podcast is about, is your soul, your spirit, your higher self. That is not changing, in the sense that it won't ever go away. It won't ever lack anything. So your higher self has no need for a partner. Being connected to everything and everyone, that's oneness. So that automatically takes the concept of wanting to be with someone else or needing someone else out of the picture, out of the equation. Because you can't want and need somebody else when you are sufficient within itself, right? And that's just, so again, but that's thinking from the spiritual So as you start to cultivate that, you start, as we know and as we talked about, in order for you to raise in those levels, you have to let go of the things that were part of that other level, right? So the things that may be holding you back, and you can tell that the things that are holding you back, because they are the things that you feel uncomfortable with now. Like, say for instance, you may have come to realize that you don't need anything to make you feel good from the outside. You can cultivate a feeling of feeling good from the inside out, and therefore release the need of seeking any of that outside of yourself. And it changes the whole dynamic of how you interact with reality in general. You don't even interact with reality in the same way. You look at it as a wonder. You're always grateful. You're joyful to be able to experience it. It's not something that you are trying to hold on to as if it's something for you to take with you on your journey. But you understand that it's something for you to enjoy for that moment, and for however long that moment lasts. Sometimes that moment may last for your entire experience. Sometimes it may not. But in either case, you're grateful because you're able to experience that. So that helps you to keep a focus on the things that are important. And so, and again, and it's so funny. I was talking with somebody about this today, as a matter of fact, and we were talking about how we inspire each other to be better. And we were saying that, that person, they inspire me to do things, and I inspire them to do things, and that's how you know that you're within a very good circle, right? You're starting to create that circle of relationships that feed into your higher self, because it's a continuous support. Nobody is taking from anybody. We're all pouring out there, and as we're pouring, everybody's cups are overflowing because it's all abundant, and you're just constantly growing and evolving and growing, inspiring. Oh wow, I never thought about that. I never thought about that. Wow, okay, that's pretty cool. Oh man, and sharing these experiences, and through that you start to cultivate relationships. And those relationships, based off of your boundaries that you already set from the introspection that you have done within yourself, you start to, those relationships start to form, and they start to have roles and parts to play inside of your experience. And it's all being done in a very artistic and beautiful way by the source, by the creator. Ebony says, that's right. Yes, it's a lot of giving. No more give and take, giving and growing, evolving, right? And awakening. Yes, you could call it awakening, because and it's a collective awakening. And that's something we always have to keep in mind. Even though on the very individual level, it's self. Remember that self is always connected to the whole. So it's even though when you look, it's just like seeing a forest of many trees, but them all being connected by the roots. It's all one. There really is no difference, even though each distinct tree has its own look, and maybe different sizes, and maybe different colors, whatever the case may be. But yes, so as you start to cultivate that, and that's why they're saying this, and this is what this means, you attract it. The things that you are growing and evolving into, you start to attract it. I was joking the other day. We was joking, me and a friend of mine. We was joking because it was talking about because we was talking about the algorithms of ads and stuff like that on social media. And you know that there's been a shift when your algorithm starts putting things out there that's good, whether it's like, going to school, whether it's, vegan recipes, vegan companies, whatever the case may be, you start seeing all of these things because that's what you're feeding into. Your algorithm, yourself, your mind is your algorithm. What you feed into it is what is going to be processed out as well. So the more that you feed into that, the more that is projected into your experience, right? Because it's almost like, a lot of people say these things, but they don't really connect all of it. We're like antennas, right? So we're receiving this energy. We're receiving all of that from God, from the Creator, from the universe, however you want to look at it, because it's all the same. We're receiving all of this from the source. And by coming from there, and by being infinite and having no end and having in its abundance, all of the things that we're thinking, even though we may be thinking different things, are all connected in some way. And you can start to see it. And I've seen this play out in my life before. It's like orchestra. It's like a symphony. And it's being managed and it's being, orchestrated, right? And so as these things come into play, you may not see it until years down the line, and then you realize, oh wow, so that's why I was actually, looking into this, and I started to learn this, and I became proficient in this because this was in my path later down the line. But you had to want to do it, right? You had to want to do it. But that's a different topic. We're not going to get into that. We're going to stick with what we're talking about right now. And that's in relationships, right? So as you have continued to evolve, and if you're doing this in a very positive way, and in a way that you're not holding on to something, right? Then you allow yourself and whatever is unfolding through you to happen. And that includes the relationships, the people that you meet. And so as these people come into your life, it makes you aware of more things, and you become more awakened into your consciousness, into yourself. And so as you do that, and then y'all may part ways, and then, but they're going on their path, you're going on your path. And then you may raise again, and you may meet someone else, and it's the same principle over and over and over and over again. Or you may go through that with just one person for the rest of your life. That's quite possible too. Why is it not possible? Why should we limit ourselves to saying that, oh no, it takes, that's one thing I don't agree with when it comes to the multiple partner theory, because a lot of it is based off of the need for something. And when you're spiritual, you don't need anything. That's the furthest from what you're trying to accomplish. You're not trying to accomplish having more things because you need them. What you're doing is you're actually becoming whole within yourself, or realizing that you're whole within yourself, and so things are attracted to you. Now, of course, that's going to include other people, but again, knowing yourself and knowing your boundaries dictates what you are going to allow in your life and what you're not. And as long as you're following those tenets of your higher self, which is being honest with yourself, right? And that means you're going to be honest with other people. So as you evolve, if you do decide that, you want to be in a multiple partner relationship, then that will be part of your evolution. But this is another point that I want to make. Because the eternal is eternal, it doesn't look at reproduction the same way. It's not about reproduction, meaning it's not about sex. It's not about the things that people put so much emphasis in. That's actually the base level. That's not the that's not the that's not it's definitely not the highest level, but it's a very base level of being your higher self, right? Some people say it's the beginning, right? But even if you don't do that, even if you decide that that's not for you and you don't want to do that, that's okay too, because as we all know, just like there's a physical creation, there's a energetic creation as well. So you can create energy and put it out into you can be a father to the children in your community. You can be a mother to the children in your community. You don't necessarily have to be an actual mother or father, right? Because again, if your spirit, your soul is eternal, then it's never gonna be gone. It's never gonna be gone. That's just not gonna happen, right? And as we know, it doesn't. Energy only transforms. It's never destroyed. So we know that for a fact. So as it's transformed into something new, then that's what it is, but that's another thing that we kind of get caught up on these things, even like with bloodlines and stuff like that. But you see what the effects of that does when people get to the point where that's the only thing they think about when it's it's the physical features and how this and that. That's not spiritual. That's not spiritual, because as we all know, flowers can grow from the rocks. That's not the same concept. So we have to be careful with that as well. But as you cultivate this higher part of yourself through nurturing self-love, of awakening and understanding and becoming more aware of yourself, then you start to create that environment around you. And the people, and I had something pulled up because I wanted to read it. And it's from our favorite psychologist about boundaries, right? Same one, Nedra Tao. She says, know this: some people will not accept you. Some people won't like you. Some people won't change. Some people won't apologize. Some people will not respect your boundaries. Some people will blame you when it's not your fault. Some people are not nice. Some people are not considering your best interests. Some people won't understand how you feel. And all she's saying, and this is part of the self-love excerpts that I save on my profile, and all she's saying is this: you're not worried about how other people feel about your self-growth, self-love, self-development. You're not worried about that. That's not your concern, because even if it was in line with what they say they want, or whatever the case may be, it still may not satisfy them. So, and that's okay, because it's not for them to be satisfied by. Again, when we looking at it from a spiritual perspective, I'm not here for your satisfaction. I'm here to satisfy myself, right? I'm here to satisfy my own growth and development. I'm not here to satisfy yours, but I am here to share with you through the oneness of all creation and the oneness of who we are, what exactly we are, what's happening, right? My evolution. I'm here to share that with you because we are one, right? And as I was saying earlier, again, in circles, that energy is free flowing in those circles. It's a constant elevation. It's a commutative elevation. Ebony also says, it starts with self, but as you said, we are all rooted together. Right, exactly. Ebony also says, yes, that. You better say it. Yeah, so, it's interesting to see how far we have gotten away from these principles. When you look into society and you see how much they have you depend on everything, especially in a consumer society, in a society that's built on consumption. We're always pushed to consume more, to have something new, to do this, to do that. They were talking about the new iPhones coming out, and I saw one of the comments and he was saying, they were really getting tired of this, iPhone coming out every year thing, because, it's really not that new. Like, the things that are coming out is not that new. It's really something that they could just, come out with an update and just, be part of the old one, and also I read that the U.S. government, that the government's actually getting into that because, and not just for Apple, but just technology in general. People tend to push more for you to update more often versus creating something that'll last over 5 years. But there was another interesting article that I read that there's this company, and I actually went to the site and saw it and everything. It's pretty cool. They come out with modular laptops, and so the laptops are like desktops, so you can upgrade them. So you can buy a base model and then put your own components into it, or you can buy it and then upgrade later. And so this is where we're headed to, because again, it's only inevitable to come to certain points, which is there's only so much consumption you can do. Consumption is a very finite principle, because again, in the infinite, in the spiritual, there is no consumption because there is no lack. So you don't need anything. You don't need sustenance. You don't need water. You don't need any of those things. You're not relying on anything. So that's what you're cultivating as you start to move into your journey to be part of a relationship with somebody else. And those relationships naturally unfold. And that's why they say, you never chase, attract. That's what they mean. Because when you're chasing something, by the very definition of you chasing it means that it's moving away from you. And if it's moving away from you, then it's not for you, because it's not being attracted to you. But when they attract, and I'm not just talking about physical attraction. So let's just make sure we get this clear. We're not just talking about physical attraction. We're talking about being attracted in purpose, on the infinite side. So when it's attracted in that way, it'll be a lasting relationship, because that's a part of who you truly are. Part of your higher self, who you truly are, as part of who you truly are. So that always will be, right? Until you evolve into something more, and then even then it may still be there, right? So that's what you want to look at. And again, you do start from the bottom, right? Because you gotta build the foundation. You gotta have the foundation built. Which is the boundaries and those self-love practices that, like meditation and exercise and eating right and, all of these things that, help you develop yourself, right? And then from there, as you've developed these habits, then from there, you start to become aware of yourself. And again, so, and I want to make this point too, because a lot of times people, they don't really you know, put it into this context. But, you know, again, when it's about the physical, when you're going into a relationship with someone purely for the physical, you are actually limiting yourself to your possibilities, because what you are desiring, what you are wanting, is what you're attracting. So you may attract a person that's attractive physically, but that's about as deep as it's gonna be. But that's all you want, right? So that's where you're gonna stay. You're gonna stay there. You'll never keep evolving as long as you stay in that mindset. You have to let that part go. You have to, and it doesn't mean that you can't admire and think someone is beautiful. That's not what that means. It just means that shouldn't be your determining factor. That should not be your determining factor. And I know some people may say, well, you know, if you got everything, then what else are you looking for from? It's not about what you're looking for from your partner. It's about what are you looking for yourself? What are you looking for yourself? And when you only look as deep as the physical appearance, that means that's only as far as you have looked at yourself. You haven't looked at yourself deeper than that. Because if you did, you would find infinite layers. So you would find other aspects of yourself that fit into aspects of other people. That's why when you do that and then you around a person that you just think is attractive physically, you might get annoyed by them mentally, or you might only want to be with them physically and then want to go off and do something else because your interests don't align. And that's a very basic example of that. But just think about the deeper levels of the higher self, your purpose, like the level, the gravity of your purpose in life. That is a major thing. And it's something that's really, you know, if a lot more people focused on their purpose in life, there would be a lot less problems. Because those problems would have answers, because we would have focused on those things and we would have found answers for them, you know. So, you know, it's for the greater good as well as yourself, your higher self. And that's the bottom line about it. When you feed into that part of yourself, it is for the greater good. It is going to help other people. Just by default, you're automatically going to be a pleasant person. So you may brighten somebody's day just by being who you are. By not allowing things to affect you in a certain way, you may inspire others to do the same. You know? So this is the framework that you work in. And then from there, you start to gravitate. Things that you know are part of that vibration start to gravitate around it and add to it and build on it. Like Ebony was saying, you know, it builds into that. And then as it grows and grows and grows, it may move into a different level. And then the ones who are at that level may be on that level and they may grow into something different. The key to this is not limiting yourself. Do not limit yourself. Don't just limit yourself to thinking, oh, this is life. Don't think that, because life can surprise you. And when it does surprise you, you have to be willing to take the lesson. You have to be willing to take the lesson, because that's how you move on from that, you know? And so part of my journey is being non-attached, as well as focused on my personal spiritual growth. And I think I said this before, like one of the things that I found out about myself through my introspection, through my meditations, was that I put other people ahead of myself a lot, and that's okay. But I have to put myself first. Otherwise, there's no more left of me to put, to give to the world, to give to other people, right? And it's such a basic concept, but you have to tie it all together, you know. And I don't want to say basic concept, but it's such a simple concept. But you have to tie it all together. You have to allow the fruits to grow within your life with that, because they will. Guaranteed. No doubt about it. It will. But you got to focus on yourself first. That means your thoughts that you're having, you know, start checking them. The words that you use, start checking them. The places that you go, start checking it. The people that you're around, start checking it. And as you do that, and you, again, setting boundaries is a part of that, and you start to set those boundaries, then you start to see things unfold on a truly spiritual, fulfilling way. Not just in a manifesting way, because we know that we manifest by default anyway. That's just a part of us as a mechanism because of who we are. But I'm talking about conscious manifestation from your higher self. So that entails something that's kind of counterintuitive, which is not wanting something while being grateful for everything, right? So it's counterintuitive to us, because a lot of times we can't look at a bad situation or what we think as a bad situation and find the good in it. We can't do that. So that gets perpetuated, and through life we start to those traumas and things that we have allowed to take root. Not to say that you don't feel sad about something, because that's, of course, that's a human emotion. You're going to feel sad. There's no way to get around that. But what I'm talking about is not allowing that to dictate or stunt your personal spiritual growth, right? That's what you don't do, because you only hurt yourself when you do that. You only hurt yourself. And that's the opposite of becoming your higher self, right? You definitely want to make sure that you're doing the things that are promoting the best part of you, so that you can be the best you. So definitely when it comes to that. Now I'm going to read something else, because I wanted to put this out there as well. And I want you to repeat after me. Nedra Tawwab says, I am no longer committed to changing the minds of people who are committed to misunderstanding me. Convincing people to see me as I am is not the best use of my time. What does that mean? It's not for you to convince anybody of who you are. Life is meant to be enjoyed. And in order for you to enjoy that, you have to know who you are, right? You have to know who you are, not somebody else. You need to know who you are. That's what really matters. That is the only thing that really matters. Okay? So as you again start to fulfill that process of learning who you are, learning who you are evolving into, but keeping the top open, giving room for growth, as they say. Still keeping and giving room for growth, but making sure that you keep it in a framework that promotes life in your higher self, right? Like things that are healthy. It's so funny because a lot of people, they'll say, oh, it's not healthy for me, but it's not good for me, but it's good to me. And, that's one thing that you have to, we've come to associate things that we enjoy with things that are not good for us, right? But we need to reverse that. The things that are good for us, we need to enjoy. Why is that? Well, think about it. Doesn't it feel good when you work out consistently and you feel healthier and you feel stronger, you feel more vibrant, feel more life when you eat healthier and you feel that energy, you process energy, you don't have to eat as much. It feels better, right? That's the true essence of what you should be enjoying. That is what you should enjoy, because that is truly what joy is, which is joy is the unfoldment of who you is the unfoldment of you becoming your higher self. That is what the function of joy is. But when you have attached joy to something that's not helping you in that, then we all know the answer to that, right? I think Sadhguru says, the way that he says it is, it becomes defiled. Like you've essentially changed the nature of nature, right? You've essentially changed the nature of spirituality, right? Which is a defilement, right? It's not meant to be changed, because it can't be changed. So whenever you think that you're changing, you might think that you're changing, but you're not changing it. You're only changing yourself. So those adverse effects that come from that only are going to affect you, truly affect you. He said, Ebony says, that's a word. Thank you, Ebony. Yes, absolutely. Why not gravitate to the things that are better for you? Seems like such an easy choice, right? And it really is. It really is. I mean, it truly is. Because again, when it boils down to it, if you have that correct mindset of spiritual over ego, then it all falls into place. And this is just me explaining it or saying these things, but it's an experience. It's something you have to experience for yourself, because everybody's experience is unique to them. My experience is not going to be the same as yours, and yours won't be the same as mine. But that's the beauty of life. It is the same, but it isn't the same. We can share the universal concepts and principles with each other, but it unfolds in a unique way for us individually. And again, some of these things seem counterintuitive, like, are contradictory even, but they're not. As we found from studying more quantum physics, and learning more in science, these things can be present at the same time. It's a scientific fact now. There is no debating it anymore. But why would you want to debate that? Isn't that a great thing? It truly is. It's a truly great thing when you can see somebody for who they are, enjoy them for who they are, but not put any pressure on them to be what you, and not have any feelings of wanting them to be somebody that you want them to be. Just truly enjoying them without any expectation. That is a beautiful thing. It cannot be matched. Nothing can match that. And when you have that, when that's in your experience, it's love, and you feel it at a whole different level. It's not even, there's no depth to it, because you find yourself just kind of going, kind of swimming in it, and you just, you never really stop, and that's good, and that's okay, because it's truly spiritual at that point. I was watching, there was an Instagram post about a man. He was, his wife asked him, why he loved her. And he told her, it's because her love is spiritual. It's not physical. It's not because of what he can do for her. It's about what she can do for him. And not in a, as they say, submissive way. Not in a submissive way, but in a higher self. Meaning her being her, what he said was just her being her helps him to become the best him. That's a very good example of spiritual love. You don't have to force it. You don't even have to ask for it. It's freely given. It's not expected. And therefore, it's at a level where it comes from the abundance of life. And so by it coming from the abundance of life, there's no end to it. There's no end to it. Even if you did part ways, there wouldn't be an end to it. You would still remember that. You would still feel that. You would still have memories of that. And that's okay. And that's okay too. Because again, if you're not attaching yourself to the outcome of you being with that person for the rest of your life, then you understand that might not happen. I may not be with that person for the rest of my life, but I'm going to enjoy them as long as they're in mine. That's it. And just imagine that. See, it's you have to take your mind out of one-dimensional space, and you have to go into the third and fourth dimensional space, understanding that both people are actually thinking this. Therefore, they both are giving freely. Therefore, the abundance is created abundantly. Therefore, their experience is a creation of its own, with or without any expectation being fulfilled or met. It's still an experience, I was reading the article also, it's by Sadhguru, and he was saying, sexuality is made up, basically, and sex is not, but sexuality is, meaning people put so much emphasis on the act of sex that they miss the higher aspects, because that's as far as they can think about it. Because to them, that's the ultimate. You've heard it in so many songs, you've seen it in so many different movies and TV shows, how, this is the ultimate feeling. No, it's not. It's really not. It's an expression of the ultimate feeling, but it is not the ultimate feeling. And it's only one expression of that. There's many others. And some of the most potent and powerful ones happen on an individual level. But incidentally, it's because you are feeling connected to everything on an individual level. And that's when you stop identifying yourself with all of these things that society tells you makes up your worth. And you start identifying yourself with the things that are just a natural part of you. It doesn't mean that you don't have that PhD. It doesn't mean that you don't get those awards. It just means that that's not you. You are more than that. May be a piece of you, but that's not you. So when people introduce you in that way, that's fine. They can give accolades to you about all of your accomplishments. There's nothing wrong with that. But it should never creep into your mind that I'm better or that this is who I am. That should never creep into your mind. Spiritually, it should never creep into your mind. A lot of times, it's so funny because I found myself in a position like that before. Where people had to tell me that. People had to tell me. They had to tell me, and I've said this in many different places, but people had to tell me to take credit. People had to tell me to seek recognition and all this kind of stuff. Seek compensation. But that's me. I do that as a function of me expressing who I am. So as I express who I am, people may pay me for that, and they do pay me for that. They do pay me for that, and that's cool. I love that. I'm grateful for that. But I just enjoy doing it. A lot of times, I'm helping someone bring something into their life that could help them in some kind of way. And I just enjoy doing it, especially and being an entrepreneur, you have the ability to choose what you do and what you don't do, especially when it's something that has an impact, social impact, then even more so, that brings even more joy to me to know that, So as I am being a part of this, then I am actually going, into my evolutionary state where I'm growing and evolving, right? Continuously every day. And then those that are a part of that process with me, they are as well. And it's beautiful. It's like the movement of people having gardens and growing their own food. It's like watching something that you planted start to bear fruit, because that's literally what it is. But it's so amazing when you feel it from the inside and not just experiencing it from the outside, as in watching it happen. There's joy in that. But when you can feel it inside of you, now that is the true ecstasy. That is the true joy right there. And then you can share that with somebody else. And it doesn't have to be physical. It can just be, sharing like how I share with you guys. And, if it brings anything into your awareness, I'm grateful. If it doesn't, I'm I'm still grateful. Grateful for the experience that I had for myself. You know? So thank you all for joining me. I appreciate your support.